Okay, what's up everybody? Before I get started, thank you to all the patrons, really appreciate you guys. And this actually ties into this video. So about a couple weeks ago, I made a in-depth kickflip video for the patrons. And I just got a little deeper into what I've learned about kickflips, like how to apply them, simple things that'll help you get better with your kickflip. And J-Rock, one of the patrons, he said after watching that, within 15 minutes, he was able to land his first 5 rolling kickflips. I did make the 3 levels of kickflip video here on YouTube, but I went way more in depth over there for the Patreon guys, and I'm gonna do the same thing with today's video. So if you're interested in one-on-one video lessons, if you're interested in monthly Q&As, if you're interested in me diving deep into specific tricks and spending 15-20 minutes just discussing everything that I've learned in 25, nearly 26 years of doing them, join the Patreon group. There's a link in the description. Today's video is going to be about heel flips. Yes, I've already done a heel flip tutorial, and this one is a little bit different. So this will be one of the levels videos, but what's different about heel flips is I don't feel like there are 3 different levels. I feel like the way that you execute the heel flip is going to remain the same. However, there are some things that you're gonna change when you're more comfortable with the heel flip. And there are also a few things that I've noticed that really stop people from landing their heel flips. So without further ado, let's get into the video about heel flips. So if you already know how to heel flip, it is a fundamental skate trick. I had a trash heel flip until about 10 years in, and I remember the exact time when my heel flip got good. I was at the Hollywood Bowl. There was a 12 stair. You had to run around a corner to skate it. So no, the only tricks that had been done were like a kickflip by this dude Boston Trevor, who used to come visit Hollywood High. Shout out to Boston T. And yeah, I wanted to get a trick on it. Nobody knew about that kickflip, but you know how it is when you already know someone's done it, you want to do better. So I had to figure out how to do a good heel flip, and I heel flipped that 12 stair that day. Now, one of the things that I've noticed about people's heel flips when they're trying to learn them, when they're having problems with them, is a lot of people, due to the nature of how you flip a heel flip versus a kick flip, they have a harder time keeping their knees bent. So let's go over how to heel flip really quickly. Back foot is in what I call the ollie box, maybe the ollie circle, having only your toes and the ball of your foot on the back foot touching the tail, foot about 1 inch, maybe half an inch from the edge of the tail. Your front foot is going to be halfway up the deck lengthwise, maybe a little bit less than halfway, depending on where you're at with your heel flip. You're going to either hang your toes over the edge like I do, or some people prefer not to hang their toes over the edge. But I'll tell you, for a beginner, it's much easier because you're going to get less friction up against the board, stopping the board from flipping. Once your feet are in position, you're going to squat. And the important thing about the heel flip squat is that we're going to attempt to pop while we're still very low to the ground. And once we pop, we're gonna allow our foot to slide forward just a little bit, and then we're gonna kick diagonally towards the backside edge of the nose. And we want our heel to kind of flick off as it hits the tip of the nose, right? And if you do it properly, when you kick forward, I should be able to see the bottom of your shoe. And that's one of the first things that I see people making mistakes with. I see people trying heel flips, and when they kick out, their foot kicks out, but it's basically just kicking straight forward like this. Now, when I kick my heel flip out, you can see the bottom of my foot as I kick out. And one of the things that I teach, that I've helped people get better heel flips or help people land heel flips in general, is that when you pop and you kick out, you want to think of, you know, that funny Russian dance that everybody's seen where they have this thing. When I do a heel flip, that's the motion that I'm thinking of. I know it's funny, I know it's goofy, but I have that in my head and it always works. The other thing that I'm thinking of is I'm keeping my head low and my knees bent the entire time. So when I kick out my front leg for the heel flip, my back leg is still bent. My body is still tucked. I'm not trying to jump. The big thing that I see that people make mistakes with their heel flips is they start, because you're kicking forward, they straighten their legs out completely. So by the time they kick out for the heel flip, their legs are like this, and they're just kicking their leg forward. And that's not gonna work. You have to make sure that you maintain that tucked position the entire time. So let me fix the phone. So when you squat on your board, you're gonna squat down. And I'm trying to flip the board here. I'm still very bent when I'm actually flipping the board. That was a little funny because that's the first thing I did on a skateboard today, but I hope you get the idea. And that's the biggest thing that I see people making mistakes with, that once they pop, their legs are all the way straight and their body is stiff. And you have to do heel flips differently. If you look at someone who has like an iconic heel flip, we're gonna talk about Neen Williams. Of course we're gonna talk about Neen, right? In recent history, he's the heel flip guy. He's the heel flip silhouette. One thing that you'll notice about Neen's heel flip, his body is very, very low, and his front foot is kicked very far forward. And that's why he's able to get a perfect heel flip, because his form is perfect. Now, him being of a shorter stature, it allows him to really dig into it. So Neen can generate a considerable amount of power and still be low to the board, which is really necessary for heel flips. Like I remember there was a time when like I heel flip crooked grinded a lunch tabletop 3 times in a row, and I was doing a lot of heel flips. And what made me able to execute them consistently was that I had skated with Neen recently, and I had seen his heel flips in person a lot, and I was just picturing staying balled up like him and kicking my foot forward at the bench, and it was working for me so consistently. I think one day I did like 5 heel flip crooked grinds on a tabletop. 3 of them were in a row. And it, like, you really have to think of keeping your body tucked in that very tucked position, right? If you're too high up by the time you flip, what I see people do is this. They'll bend and then they'll start to lean forward towards the backside edge of the board. And when they want to flick, they'll stand up and then kick out like this. So the board's flipping over, but it's really only flipping over because they're leaning over so much on the backside edge of the board. But what we want is, we want something closer to this. We want our feet in the right position. We want to bend, and we want to flip while we're low, right? The lower to the board we are when we flip, the easier it's gonna be. So you always wanna be thinking of that tuck, and you always wanna be thinking of that tucked position. The minute you allow the 2 parts of your body, the upper and lower, to separate too much, you're already at a disadvantage for your heel flip. And so now let's talk about the next level of heel flip. So basically we're heel flipping, you've gotten a little bit better, and you want to start to speed up your heel flip. Now the most important thing here is that you're good at the explosion part of your ollie, right? Because since we need to keep our feet so tucked together, it's very different from a kickflip, right? When we do a kickflip, since we're up on our toes and we're using our toes, we have the spring coming from both of our feet. When we heel flip, we don't have that. We only have the spring from our back foot. So a big thing that I see when I see people trying to heel flip higher, and I noticed this when I started to heel flip upstairs, heel flipping up a 5 stair, heel flipping up a 4 stair, something like that, that I had to rely on my back foot and the spring that comes from my back foot so much that it would throw me off balance a lot. So when you're trying to level up your heel flip, it's extremely important that you've mastered that tucked position that I talked about just before. And then it's also important that you focus on the power you can generate in your back foot. And if you watch the rookie mistake video where I talked about having your heels up, it's extremely important to get a good heel flip. Now, you don't have to have your heel completely pointed at the sky, but you do have to have your heel off of the board, only your toes and the ball of your foot making contact, and you do want to try to have your heels pointed up as much as you can, because that is going to create the best power for you on a skateboard. And I know somebody said, like, snarkily that sports science dictates that your feet flat on the ground is going to generate more power, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to go look at boxers, or I want you to go to a boxing gym where you need to generate power to have a good punch, and see if anyone's flat-footed. And if you do see someone flat-footed, I want you to watch so you can, and listen so you can hear their coach tell them that they need to pick up their heels and stay on their toes. I also want you to go and watch some sprinters and see if there's flat-footed sprinters where you have to generate power. Now, I also want you to look at the skateboard and realize that a sports scientist is talking about you standing flat on the ground. And me personally, I can dunk a basketball, and I'm not that tall, I'm 6'1", and I've never done that from a flat-footed stance. So wherever you got your information from, I'd like to see you go and try to apply that. You probably can't. If you stand flat-footed doing pretty much anything, you're not going to generate much power. It just doesn't work. And you know, this is happening in like the fitness industry as well, where there's people, they talk about all of these science-based workouts, and a lot of people's gains are getting robbed because of them. So there is a segment of the fitness industry that's kind of telling people like, look, you can't focus so much on that because every person in every instance is different. So you're gonna have to focus on being able to stay up on your toes on that back foot, how to keep your balance while you're up on your toes on your back foot and while your weight is kind of on your heel. I actually try to keep my weight concentrated towards the mid foot in my front foot for the heel flip, and I get really low and I pop while I'm still low. And when I'm trying to get higher, I don't try to do it by pushing my legs straighter and then lifting them up. I try to do it by springing, using the spring, using the power that I can generate. Now, part of this is why my heel flips can't consistently be as high as my kick flips, because it's very difficult, but I have gotten better of it. I have heel flipped over picnic tables, backside heel flipped over picnic tables, heel flip crooked grinded handrails, heel flip back lift handrails, heel flip front boarded handrails. So I have gotten a pretty decent heel flip. Compared to my kick flip, I'm not satisfied with it, but you know, you can't have every trick perfect. So just a recap of the important factors for the heel flip, and like that's the second level of your heel flip is basically gonna be when you can start to heel flip up onto things. And if you're trying to get to that second level, it's important that you master the important things of the first level, being your posture, the position of your back foot, being able to see the bottom of your heel when you flick out, and keeping your body in that tucked position. Because when you're trying to heel flip up something, when you're trying to heel flip onto something, which would be that second level, and I feel like there's only kind of 2 levels for the heel flip. Maybe I'm wrong, but I have done even like heel flip back 50-50s on handrails. I've done all of that stuff. So I'd like to think that I would be considered an expert in heel flips, but whatever. Yeah, you gotta be tucked. You gotta land already tucked. And if you didn't master that first level, it's gonna be really hard for you to get accustomed to that at the second level. So really focus on tucking. So to go over it again, your back foot, only toes and ball of your foot make contact with the tail. Your front foot, you're gonna have your weight kind of concentrated to your midfoot, if you know what that means. Not the heel, not the toes, but the midfoot. Maybe the ball of your foot, of your front foot, is making contact with the edge of the board, the backside edge, the outside edge of your board. And your arms are up, you're squatting down as low as you can, and you're going to try to initiate the pop while your body is still compressed. If you wait until your body has already started to come apart, it's gonna be a lot harder for you to control the heel flip, and you're gonna develop a really bad habit that's gonna stop you from doing things like heel flipping onto grinds and slides, heel flipping upstairs, and also heel flipping off stairs. Because when you skate stairs, if you catch the board and your body is straight, you're in for a rude awakening. You're gonna land and not be able to take the impact, and a lot of times you're not gonna be able to squat quick enough to compensate. So keep your body tucked, it's very important. Make sure that when you actually pop and flick your foot forward, your back foot stays bent, and it stays bent a little more than it does with the kickflip, right? With the kickflip, we can afford to do a little bit more of this with our leg, right? But with the heel flip, our back leg really needs to be bent. Go watch Neen Williams heel flips. There's other people who do great heel flips. Watch people do heel flips into grinds, and not just people where it looks like they're fluking it. Because here's the thing, if you try a trick 100 times and you're a decent enough skater, you're gonna be able to land one. There were tricks that I've done over the course of my career that I've never done again. Like I kickflip back blunted a little rail at some point, never did that trick at the skate park, never did that trick again. I did kickflip front blunts, I could do them relatively consistently. The kickflip back blunt, it's because I was able to do frontside flips and I was able to do blunt slides, so I could fluke it. I could try it 100 times and then eventually land one. But I was never in a position of mastery where I could kickflip into a backside blunt slide, and I was gonna be consistent with it, and I was gonna try to be consistent with it. So watch someone who you've seen do heel flips into whatever grind you're trying and who you've seen do it consistently. And you wanna emulate these people's body movements, and they're usually gonna be tucked in. Neen Williams is a great example. That's all I got for you today. Like I said, I'm going to be making a deep dive into these where I go over it more in depth over on the Patreon. If you're interested in that, join up. There's a link in the description, and thank you for watching.